Hi, I'm Emily. I lead the corporate marketing or corporate event marketing team. So I just wanted to, we're trying something new and it is called Show and Tell. And so this is an opportunity for people to showcase something that they've been working on. We used to do this meeting every Friday with just the leads of the team, and we decided it'd be nice that for people to be able to talk about their own work and really dig in a little bit deeper on things. The requirement is not that everybody speak every week. It's just when you feel inspired to showcase something that you've been working on. It can even be something that's halfway, you're halfway through it, but just so that you can share it with the team and people get to learn a little bit more in depth about what everybody's doing. So I think, does that explain it well enough, Danielle?
That was great. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Then I think Will is first up.
Thanks, Emily. So my first point here is actually to fill in for our PR and comms teams who aren't here today, but they had a lot to talk about. So recently we had the 13.0 release and the PR team really created a lot of press from it. So obviously they had the dedicated press release and that was translated into a number of languages to make sure it worked in the regions and the localities where we wanted to make sure we had the news. And the global teams helped to secure about 34 pieces of coverage so far, and there's more expected from regions like Japan, so that number should only continue to go up. And just for some fodder between releases and something that we're really looking to keep up the momentum on, is that the 12.9 kickoff really only had about 400 views on YouTube, whereas the 13.0 kickoff had 20,000 views. And I know some of us were in that conversation in Slack and trying to figure out where this came from, because people were asking Organic Social if we had supported it, and we had not gotten the chance to do so in the time. So there's a lot of increased awareness around it, and we want to keep that up for 13.1 and forward. I'm also next for social related stuff, so I'll take the first hat off and talk here. I think we're encouraged to share our screen, so I will do that very quickly with what we have here, just so we have stuff to look at. First and foremost, we kind of restarted our hashtag moving to GitLab campaign in a very soft launch with our open source partners with Nerdsy and all of the teams that are working to move to GitLab. This was our first kind of hard move into that direction. And this was an old news story. Old as in it was about a month old by the time we posted it. Simon, who you'll see here, who runs XFC, he had already blogged about the move and what worked for him and how great it's been. We posted this on Twitter over the weekend, and it blew up for just one tweet from XFCE. Clearly, their followers were really excited about it, and we had some news generated from it because, while I don't have direct attribution to the knowledge of it, about 2 hours after this tweet posted, it was the top news story on Hacker News, and it was on the front page. So being that it was an old news story and we had just tweeted about it, I'm about 95% sure that we helped influence that direction to get some more press for it. So that's always a really good thing. A second thing that I wanted to mention as well is that we this week realized, working with some partners and some other teams and a lot of my network, a lot of social teams are really unprepared to go through this moment that we're going through culturally and globally. And to some degree, we'll need to continue preparing to do this kind of work and understand how to shut off and turn back on more fluidly as things continue to change and adapt. So I came up with an idea of maybe turning kind of our existing strategies into something more open source so that partners can take what we've created and some of the guidelines we've had directly from our handbook and apply it to their company, maybe have some recommendations or to help them lead. So I took what we're doing for our moment this week and made it a little more agnostic to just moments in general so that companies can use this and social teams of one can take this to help own the moment. And I've already shared this on my LinkedIn. I've shared it in some of the private networks I'm a part of from Sprout and on Facebook. And there's been a few people who said that they found it really helpful already because they don't know what direction to take, or they don't have the agency and autonomy in their company to make these kinds of decisions. So it's helpful for teams to build. And then lastly, which does not have something to share for a screen, I'm very thrilled to work in an environment like GitLab where by the end of the day, Monday, we had coordinated all of these efforts to pause social, rewrite copy that was drafted and scheduled for a later date. Comms was involved, the content team paused their work, the marketing programs team stopped their emails. Everybody took our lead for what we were doing and kind of turned it into making sure that we were all on the same voice and on the same page moving forward. To say that that's a difficult thing to do in a co-located organization where everybody's on the same floor and we're all really a part of a larger team face to face would be an understatement. So for it to have worked so seamlessly this week and so easy so that we can dive deeper into making sure we're doing something of action is just a massive thank you. And I really think it's a testament to how well we all work together. And with that, I think Kristen is next.
Mine's a little similar, but so I don't really technically have something to share on the screen. So because the thing I'm about to talk about is no longer a post that like currently exists. So I screenshotted what the post looked like before we made the edits. But so overall, and I put that in the doc, but overall, I'm really proud again, like how quickly everyone was able to just adapt to our team's recommendations. And it wasn't even just organic that we paused. Like we also teamed up with Matt and he paused all of paid social as well. And then any marketer on any campaign, we all teamed up together in this entire department, like whether it was a planned webcast that the date moved, or you had like landing page copy that like maybe could have been insensitive. It was just really telling how all together we were able to make slight changes in copy. And even if it's a word, it really makes a big difference. So this week, I actually went through all of our posts that we had planned for the month of June, and I flagged to Will with internal comments on our platform called Sprout, like anything that could potentially be insensitive. And we found quite a few things actually, but the main one that I called out here was just such a perfect example about how when time changes, like your copy is now irrelevant. So the copy was, not all CI/CD tools are created equally. And I even used the balance scale emoji. And so that is just such a perfect example of how right now in this moment that could have severe negative impact on our brand. So not it from what was just editing social copy, like quickly turned into, let's look at our landing pages. Like I'm encouraging like MPMs to just like whatever assets you have for your campaign right now, like just take a double check and tag PR or tag social if you even think it could be insensitive. So again, I'm just really thankful and proud of everyone in marketing for just adapting so quickly and really working together on this. And I'll pass it off to Darren.
Awesome. Thank you all for that. I'm going to try to share my screen here. Cool. So I wanted to share a handbook update I made this week in the all remote section of the handbook. So this is on our asynchronous page where we talk about how GitLab works asynchronously, which has been increasingly valuable to be able to share with the wider community of what does asynchronous mean. How can you possibly do that? We're so entrenched in synchronicity. I can't imagine us ever being able to get out of this. And so a couple of awesome conversations with super smart people led to this handbook update where I hope that other people will contribute to things like clearing all your messages daily and weekly, taking Slack away from your phone. I actually saw Leanne in the people experience team before she even read this, said to her team like, hey, I just feel like this is consuming my life. I need to take a step back from it. Just a heads up. It's awesome. It's a two-way door. If you don't love it, you can always add it back. And also I've seen some people this week just have great transparency on capacity. As our team just mentioned, there's been a lot going on in the world well beyond our day-to-day work. And so even our mental capacity has a different ratio right now than it usually does. And I think there's power in sharing that. And I just love that we work in a place where we can make these suggestions and add this to the handbook, that this doesn't just benefit us, but the wider community. And I wanted to just share the merge request. I'm working hard to try to get people more comfortable with making MRs. I know it can seem a little bit daunting, but I just wanted to look at the back end here. You know, at the end of it, you see some hashtags that might look a little scary, but at the end of the day, it's just words. And so I'm hopeful that we can encourage people to make more MRs, even if they're not perfect, even if they're not linked up. We try to ship things in draft and then make them better as we go. And the last thing I'll close on is actually a quasi shout out to Jacqueline and our executive comms team and all of our amazing teams in PR across the world. We were able to be interviewed on Cheddar this week. We actually started a new way to encourage the team globally to take a look at what others are doing with a watch party channel. This was the first instance of this Cheddar interview, and I hope to see more people being engaged in the broader community. And then we encourage each other as a global team to take part in that and root each other on, because with 1,200 people, it's there's a lot to keep up with, and I think bringing it to a centralized place to celebrate each other in the community is going to be awesome. So with that, unless we have any last minute ads, I'm also next in leading shout outs. How fitting. So my shout out, Jacqueline, Natasha, and our amazing PR team for all the work they continue to do to help get the all remote message out, as well as all of our other important messaging. All of you are amazing and super fun to work with. So I appreciate you very much. I also appreciate the static site editor team. I've had a couple of calls with Jean and some of the folks on his team. They're working really hard to make our web IDE a lot more consumer friendly. And I think that's going to be huge as more teams go remote. They're looking for tools to build a handbook. GitLab is great at that, but it's requires some amount of technical knowledge to really get in, and they're working hard to make that easier. I think that's really powerful. So this is our shout out section. Thanks for letting me start. And with that, I'll kick it over to Emily Kyle.
Yeah, I feel like I kind of am dominating the shout out section today, so I'll just roll through mine pretty quickly. But I just wanted to thank Tegan for writing the Black Hat people a strongly worded email to get all our money back. They were trying to withhold 25%, and she shut it down. So it's going to be really, we've been doing a lot of work around getting refunds and all the events we committed to that are now going virtual or have been canceled. So really appreciate everybody's hard work there. And so thanks to Tegan for that. I wanted to thank Lauren. She created this amazing contribute deck that resulted in the board and the e-group selecting the next 2 locations for contribute. So that's amazing. I'm so happy that we're going to have some dates on the books. I think everybody kind of needs a win at this point and an opportunity to think about getting together again in person. So those will be coming shortly, and we will have a fun announcement. So I think we'll probably end up making her deck into a template to use for future use. So that's great. And then I wanted to thank Technical Evangelism and PMMs for, we had this meeting on Monday about how we're going to work the CFP for commit. And I know there was a lot of back and forth, so I really appreciate everyone's candor and contributing on that. And we got to a really good place. And I'm very excited about the content we're going to produce there. So look forward to that. And then lastly, I just want to thank Christine in finance for forever being patient. She walked me through a lot of things this week and got us, minute by minute finance stuff. So that we could figure out exactly what we needed to be refunded and where we're at with all billing and accounts receivables for all the events upcoming. So thank you for that. On to Will.
Thanks, Emily. My first thanks is to Kristen. This has obviously been a challenging week, and you and I have already mentioned that earlier today. I think you've really helped us move forward quickly this week, and the tasks that you've helped with to cover the rest of the calendar and working on the advocates team responses and whether or not we're doing certain activities with them. All of that's super helpful for us. So it's allowed me to focus on other things as well. So I know we normally work well as a team, but in what feels like an emergency situation for our line of work, we worked really well together. And I can't thank you enough for being a great partner this week because of that. I also want to thank Candace. I can't imagine the week that she's had. She's been pulled in a million directions. She's given enough of her time to both me and a lot of others in comms and in content to pull together some resources and actionable things that we hope will be helpful in the near future. And we've had a lot of one-on-one time. We've had a lot of Slack time this week. And we've been able to connect on a lot of things, both personally and professionally. And it was really nice to have a partner like her this week too. And I think the same thing goes for Sarah Kasabian and Val. They're working on a lot of content pieces that are related to all the things that are happening here as well. And so the 3 of us and Candace have been in each other's Slack messages all week and working async in docs and in issues. And it's been really great to have partners in different parts of marketing and content be able to pull stories and relevant pieces of information out that I think is going to be something we'll be thanking for them next week and the week after as well. I don't see anybody else on this list, but I guess this would be the time to ask anybody else if there are thank yous you're thinking of now that you haven't written to verbalize and then we can put in the doc after.